So I thought I would run through my two toolboxes that I take into all my jobs. These are standard ones that are in the van, whatever I'm doing, wherever I'm going. And since I got a little bit of time and I need to clean them up and go through them, I thought I'd empty them out, give them a good clean, and as I put everything back and restock them, I'll just run through a couple of the things that are in there as well. So let's get cracking and see what's in there first off. So as I was filming the cleaning down and everything, the battery on my camera died. So I was still talking and putting stuff on in the boxes, but wasn't actually filming anything. So I couldn't do anything about it at the time. Had to work the next day, so it's been a few days since everything has been cleaned, and everything's back in the boxes. But I thought, since I come this far, I might as well finish it off. I'm just going to go through the boxes, show you what's in here. Seen some things going out. I put some things back, taken some things away because they're no longer needed. Yeah, so I mean, you can see the boxes come up all right. Shiny, not exactly like new, but yeah, perfectly good for what we need. So let's start with this one here. Start off. Let's see now. General tools that we got here. Little bits and bobs, little small hand tools that are needed day to day. Not on every job, but it's something that sometimes you need. Sometimes you need a small wrench, nail punch, always handy. Those little pins, putty knife. I know where it is. Keep it in here. Pull out any pins that are sticking out, no longer needed. Maybe scraper, great for leveling off rough paint. Filler, roughing up repair care as well. You know, great uses. You can strip off flaking paint with it in no time, and some spare blades as well. A little bit of string that is actually called a mouse. I got a little bit of copper on there at the moment, but a bit of lead is better. It's for recording sash windows. You can feed that down into the box and pull your sash cord back up through it, which is quite fun to do. Don't do it that often, but I do like to see a working sash window, so I always offer it to customers if they do have wooden sashes. Especially in Cardiff, there's a lot of Victorian buildings there, and some beautiful glazing, stained glass windows, lots of bays of 5 sash windows, and they're just so much better when they're actually working. A little tool for cutting the top off mastic or cork, or your cork, and you can a little guillotine type system there for cutting the nozzle. It's handy. I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with using a knife, but I picked that up for a couple of quid, and it's there. I use it every now and again. It's not perfect. A couple of rollers. I need to get some more in there. Really, some bits of plastic for filling, especially if I'm using a 2-pack filler. You know, you can use these, chuck them to one side, let it dry off, scrape them down, and they're good to go again. So that isn't a problem. Tape, self-explanatory. Rubber gloves, cleaning down. Most of the time I do wear gloves when I'm painting, and I've been wearing the nitrile ones for a while, but especially now they're very expensive. Probably, you know, easily 3 times what I'd normally pay for a box they are now. So I've picked up these white painter's gloves, a few packets of those, and I'll use those more often now. Inside, brushes, bit of a selection. Purdy, Picasso. I do like the Picassos. Some of these are better than others, but yeah. And these Langnickels, which come in a pack of 3. Buy them like that, and I find them great. They're great for laying off. I mean, you're not going to paint a wall in them or anything like that, but if you've got small areas, they're brilliant. Lay off really nicely, and they're pretty cheap as well, so I'm happy to use, especially the smaller ones. Use them for spot priming and in the bin, and it doesn't matter if they dry up, and you don't have to worry about cleaning them out. And I also do these little ones, which, I mean, this one I've just, you know, they're great for getting into small tight areas. Everybody should have them, and like, you know, just kind of bent that around to make it into a little angled pitch there. Chuck those in there. Safety glasses, which need a little bit of a clean, I think. Picked these up last year because I wear glasses anyway, so these are prescription as well, and I was sick and tired of having a scruffy pair of glasses in my toolbox, so I thought pick these up, impact resistant, scratch proof, all that malarkey, and they're really good. I like them. You know, the style isn't fantastic. I wouldn't exactly pop to the shops in them, but yeah, they're great for painting. Bit of cling film for wrapping up brushes, rollers, until I can clean them out at the end of the day. Folding rule comes in handy every now and again, so that's why I keep it in there. And I haven't long picked this up, which is a colour reader, so I can match up colours. I can see if there's any quality control issues. Make sure it's matching what it should. And I can show customers that it is the colour that they've chosen. I'll look at that now in a second. Let's see now. I open up the app, turn it on, press connect, and it says a colour reader needs calibration, so we will do that. Calibrate. There's a little white dot inside there which works the calibration, so that's all good. Take that off, and all you do is you put it on the surface, press read, and hopefully there we go, it gives us a match. Highest quality match, Decorator Symphony. This is the Decorator one, so it has it gives you access to their colour charts, plus let's see, plus RAL E3, RAL K5, NCS, and then the rest of them are the Decorator colour ranges. So if you go back to the reading that we had there, which quite possibly was different to what we had before. Let's try that again. It comes up the same, so that's fine. But if you look at the board here, because this was sprayed, there's a bit of a mottling here where the colour fades out a little bit. If I was to put it on there, put it into say QC mode, got that standard which was from there, put it on that, take a reading, and it'll tell us that is not the same colour. Another one there. That's not the same, but it's a little bit better. Move it across a little bit more, and then we're on the money there, which is what you should expect. But if you've got a customer that's maybe saying that wall looks different to that wall, it's a different colour, you can pull this out, you can take a reading from the one wall, go over to the other one and compare it against that first reading, and it'll tell you whether it's close enough, which I'm not sure what the actual variation is, but you can go into more details on these, can you? Certainly if you go into that, you can actually bring up the values, the colour values, and see what the difference is between them. So yeah, that's the wrong way around. So yeah, that's pretty handy, and pick that up. a couple of months ago. Bought it myself, so there's no advertising here. Let's take that away. And that is that box. Like I say, everything kind of moves about a little bit in these boxes, and as I'm doing jobs, you know, I get some screws in there, or I might bring a little tool along for something, and that will and I might sit in there for a little bit until I clean it out next time. So this one here, start off on the bottom, sanding, preparation kind of things, Hamilton dusting brush, got some Hamilton filling knives as well, which I really like. I mean, I've had these probably 10 years, something like that. Just give them a sand down to clean them up, which I need to do. But they're great. You know, you can bend them right the way over, and they'll spring back into shape. They keep a nice sharp edge on there, so I'm happy with those. Merc Gold Flex paper. It's got this nice soft foam backing, nice abrasive. I carry those in a 240 and a 150, I think. Great for mouldings, getting around things. Helmy furniture filler. Levels off nicely. It doesn't fill to a great depth. You know, it's a couple of millimeters, otherwise you do get shrinkage with it. But I like the tube that it comes in, rather than having a tin or a pot like you get with the Toolbox ones. Just because you get all the air out and you'll keep it for a long time. You know, I've probably had that for about a year or so, and it's all perfectly good. You know, there's no problems at all. There's nothing hardens inside the container, so that's brilliant for me. Sanding block and sanding pads, square ones, brilliant. Keep saying brilliant all the time. Usually I get a 60 grit, and then I'll have some finer paper that I can just wrap around there as need be. So I like using those. They also have these foam ones, which are quite nice. I need to pick up some more of those. And then sandpapers, abrasives, I should say. Any machine ones that I've got, I usually keep them for a little bit of hand sanding, get into tight corners, things like that. And this tool is just a bit of Velcro wrapped around a bit of wood. I made it specifically for a job to get into a small area, and it's been pretty handy, to be honest. So it's kind of made its way into the toolbox. This one, some ear defenders, not ear defenders, earplugs, that's it. When you got the sander going with an extractor for a period of time, I used to get a little bit of a ringing in my ears after, so you know, you got to look after yourself at the end of the day. Nobody else is going to. Blades, plenty of Stanley blades, razor blades, more blades, NT blades, Alpha blades. I mean, whatever's sharp at the end of the day. The Alpha ones are great. The NT cutter ones are great as well. As long as it's sharp, it'll work. So yeah, never have too many blades. Snapbox, which is brilliant for keeping everything safe. Instead of having sharp knives wrapped in paper or masking tape or shoved down in between floorboards or something like that, you can just pop it in there, snap it off, and then it lives inside of there then. Or do is unscrew it, empty it out and into the bin or into an old paint can or something like that, and we're good to go. Wera, not quite sure how to pronounce it, but a nice what's it called? It's kind of like a revolver screwdriver. Carries your bits inside the middle there. Handy little tool. Always need a screwdriver, and I'm sick of carrying 4, 5, 6 different screwdrivers around me. I didn't always want to carry the drill driver as well, so I picked this up. I mean, they're not cheap, but it's a good quality bit of kit. Can't fault it at all. Just don't have a look at their spanners and the like, because you will spend a fortune. Charging cables, always good for your phone, and my earphones, which I wear when I'm working sometimes. This is I can't remember what it's called now, company that makes them, but it's basically wire wool on a foam backing. Great for cleaning glass. If you're gentle with it, you can clean up bits of metal as well. Yeah, it does the job and lasts a long time as well. Better than having lots of bits of steel wool around the place. What else we got? A couple of spare containers and my apron. I prefer to wear an apron when I'm working, to be honest. I'm not, I don't look like a typical painter. I don't wear whites very often. It's only when I'm doing kind of exterior work, or I'm on a building site doing some general decorating every now and again. I'll wear painter's whites. I prefer to wear a shirt, jeans. I got decent pair of boots, and I'll turn up. I'll put my apron on, put some gloves on, and crack on with painting the kitchen or painting furniture, or maybe doing some gilding. And yeah, I you know, don't get too much on me. Oh, this is probably the dirtiest my watch has been in a long time. So tack cloths. If you do any kind of sanding, any kind of rubbing down, you go into initially hoover it up, then an extractor, do your sanding, hoover it up. Traditional way, you know, getting into the corners, dust it off. You're still going to have, even after dusting it off, you're still going to have a fine layer of dust on there. Very, very fine powder. So your tack cloth will just open it up, wipe it down, and it'll trap all that. It's a sticky cloth. It'll trap all the little tiny bits of dust that left in the atmosphere and settle on the surface, and you'll have perfectly smooth surface there. These ones a bit more expensive, but they're large and they last a while. So they don't leave any kind of residue on the surface if you're using water-based paints. So you know, they do the job consistently, and they last long enough for me to justify buying them. I do have a little stack of more traditional linseed ones, but yeah, I mean, usually they're small. They don't last very long. You know, once you've used them, they'll only last a couple of days at best. So up top here, some tapes, electrical tape, which I don't use very often, but if there need be. Gorilla tape or duct tape, some strong double-sided tape, which is pretty handy for putting on drawers in the kitchen. Sometimes the fronts, I'll take them off, try and put them back on. If I've had to reposition the holes because the screws have been chewed up or something like that, or they were screwed in too tightly before, there's nothing left to grip onto, so I can position the drawers firmly and then screw into it. Super glue. It's just get out of trouble kind of things, aren't they? And And here we got a couple of measuring devices, moisture meter, test your wood, test your plaster work. Moisture is always causing problems for paint work. If something's too wet when you're painting it, it's going to bubble up, it's going to flake. It's got to be released one way or another. There's lots of microporous paints and paints that say that they're breathable, but they only work to a certain extent. So you're much better off waiting for something to dry out and then painting it properly. So I'll check things before doing anything. Infrared thermometer, which is handy to check surface temperatures. Sometimes, something will heat up really quickly. You can take a measurement of it and you can understand what's going on. You get so much information just by being in a room or touching a surface, but if you're taking measurements, you can compare them throughout the course of your working day or working week, and it helps you plan what you're going to do and when as well. So it'll help you understand how long something might take to dry. And another tool that's good for that is one of these devices, which measures the humidity in the room as well. Somewhere that's got high humidity, it's going to cause your paints to dry a lot slower. I've been in places where I've left this overnight and it takes a maximum and minimum reading as well, along with the temperature and humidity. And it's shown that a room has gone down to, say, 6 degrees overnight and 90% humidity. Well, that's the reason in black and white why your paint hasn't dried the next day, or why you're having problems. So it's good to have that evidence there, so you can explain it to people a lot easier. Distance measure, which works really accurately. I was surprised how accurate it actually was. I mean, obviously I still carry the regular tape measure there, just because it's easier sometimes, isn't it, than getting this out. But this is handy, especially doing stairwells. If you wanted to take measurements of something, you can got plenty of functions on here so that you can take the area. You can measure the cubic meterage of something. You can measure the hypotenuse, and you can measure tangents from the hypotenuse as well. So it's pretty good. And handy, and it stores those measurements, so you don't have to be there with pen and paper all the time trying to remember things or play about with the tape, especially if you've got a long wall that you need to measure. Moving along with a 3 meter tape or even a 5 meter one, you take a measurement with this. How accurate you're going to be over 10 meters? This is pretty accurate, down to centimeters. It's going to be more accurate with that than it is with the tape measure. You have to move along all the time, I find anyway. A few medicines, paracetamol, strepsils, chewing gum. When you need them, so that's why you carry them. Knives, snap knives, pens, pencils, and the like. Permanent markers. The white gloves that I was on about earlier, and razor blade scraper, which is perfect for windows, any kind of glass, scraping it off. It'll also take off some nibs, which I remember I forgot to show you this one, which is for denibbing. What is it? Carbide scraper. So once the paint is hardened, you can just take off any nibs with the edge there. And yeah, I mean, I don't use it that often, to be honest, but yeah, it's there. Scraper there. Wet film thickness comb, so that I can measure how thick the paint is being applied, which is important. You need to know how thick the paint is going on, because if you put it on too thick, it's not going to go into dry. It could cause problems like mud cracking, crazing, sags, and runs. Obviously, if it's on too thin, then it's not going to perform the way that it should. It's not going to have the opacity that it should. It'll dry too quickly, and it's not going to offer you any kind of protection as well, especially if it's external. So most of the time I'm using this edge here, which is 25 to 150 microns. Usually we're looking at around about 125 microns for most paints, but obviously you have to check that with paint manufacturers. All you do is, once you've applied it, really useful if you're spraying, so you can see exactly how thick it is. But even if you're using a brush or a roller, you can use this wet paint, put it on the surface, have a look on there, and you'll see there'll be paint on this tooth, paint, or maybe a little bit of paint, no paint. So you're going to know that it's between 100 and 125 microns thick that you're putting it on. And if you thin your paint as well, you need to apply it thicker, which a lot of people don't consider. You're adding extra thinners to it. So if you add an extra 10% spirit or water to something, you need to put it on 10% thicker. So if you would put it on, if it was recommended to be 100 microns thick, you're going to need to put it on 110 microns thick. So you're not going to know how thick you're putting it on unless you have one of these. This is a larger one. I mean, you can get smaller plastic ones as well. I got one knocking around somewhere, I think. And syringe with needle. Bubbles in wallpaper. Basically, I use this for. I can get in behind something. It should really be in my wallpapering kit, but I've used it on a job somewhere and it's ended up in here, so that's where it stays. And one of these little caps that just go onto your caulk gun. Give me a second. So instead of these like screw-on ones here, there are on some of them, this just shoves on the end of it and does the same thing basically. So I think that is just about everything. Yeah, I haven't added too much, but it's just in a clean up and a reorganization. And these will sit in the van, come into my jobs, and that'll work nicely. I can have it, set out, ready, got everything there, got my sandpaper sorted, my grab knife or something. I can have access to pretty much everything here with minimal movement, or I don't have to, apart from these two areas, I don't have to go digging around for something. I don't have to have, if I'm doing a job, this will be in the room with me, my extractor and another sustainer with filling in or masking or the drill driver or the sander, whatever I'm using. And then once I'm done with that, I'll take that out. Once I'm done with the masking, that goes away. Once I've done with the filling, that goes away. But this one stays. This one always stays. And it's so much cleaner, so much more organised, and it makes it so much easier to work better. So all I need to do is put a little sticker on here and here, and I will be done. There we go. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you very much.